Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we bring you an incredible story from Cleveland, where 26-year-old mechanic Jake Carter meets 40-year-old billionaire Laura Reynolds and her 18-year-old daughter, Emily, who has been paralyzed for 2 years. Despite all the money in the world, nothing has worked until today. Watch as hope, courage and ingenuity come together in a life-changing moment you won't forget. Like, share and subscribe and tell us where you're watching from. Now let's get started. Jake Carter wiped the sweat from his brow as he bent over a rusty engine, the hum of his small Cleveland garage filling the otherwise quiet morning. The scent of motor oil and metal was familiar, comforting even, but his day was about to change. A sleek black SUV rolled up outside, shining under the pale sunlight, the kind of vehicle he rarely saw in his little town. Jake paused, curiosity piqued as the doors opened. Out stepped Laura Reynolds, her posture impeccable, her designer coat fluttering lightly in the breeze. Beside her was her daughter, Emily, sitting quietly in a folded wheelchair, eyes wide but guarded. The contrast between the glamorous visitors and his modest garage was striking. Laura's face was calm, yet etched with exhaustion, a blend of worry and hope that only years of unfulfilled concern could produce. Emily, young and delicate at 18, had a faint trace of sadness in her gaze. Jake's heart ached just looking at her. He gently closed the car hood he had been inspecting and stepped forward, wiping his hands on a rag. "Can I help you folks with something?" he asked, voice steady but welcoming. Laura's eyes met his briefly, evaluating, and then softened. As they walked toward him, Jake noticed the folded wheelchair, compact but clearly well used. "This is my daughter Emily," Laura said softly. 2 years ago, a car accident left her paralyzed. We've tried everything, every treatment, every specialist money could buy. Nothing has worked." Her voice trembled slightly, betraying the years of stress she had carried. Emily's eyes flicked up at him, cautious, her fingers brushing the edge of the wheelchair, uncertain. Jake knelt down slightly to meet her gaze, offering a kind, steady smile. "Maybe I can help," he said, his tone gentle. "I'll do everything I can to help you move again." Emily's expression flickered, a mix of skepticism and curiosity. You really think you can?" she asked quietly, almost whispering, her voice soft but tinged with hope. Jake shrugged, trying to appear humble, though inside a spark of determination ignited. "I can't promise miracles," he admitted, "but I can promise I'll try." Laura let out a quiet breath, a mixture of relief and lingering doubt. She had seen many people fail, even those with impressive credentials and money behind them. Yet something about Jake's sincerity and focus gave her a strange, unexplainable sense of trust. They moved inside the garage, the space cluttered with tools, car parts, and half-finished projects. Sunlight streamed through the dusty windows, illuminating metal surfaces and machinery. Jake led them toward a corner with ample space, thinking aloud. "I've worked on cars my whole life, but I've always been fascinated by robotics and mechanics beyond engines. Maybe there's a way I can build something for Emily, something that can help her move with more independence." Laura watched him silently, her hands clasped in front of her, while Emily's eyes followed every movement, curiosity overcoming her initial hesitation. Jake began explaining his ideas, using sketches on a small notepad. "If we combine lightweight metals, a few motors and sensors, we might create a chair that can help you stand, move, and adjust posture safely," he said. Emily's brow furrowed, trying to understand. "You really think it can work?" she asked, hope mingling with doubt. Jake nodded. "I can't say for certain, but I want to try. I've been tinkering with small prototypes for months, just in case an opportunity like this came along." Laura's face softened, and she took a deep breath. The garage felt smaller now, filled with tension, hope, and quiet anticipation. Jake crouched beside the wheelchair, gently inspecting its frame and wheels. "It's a solid chair, but we can improve it," he said, more to himself than to them. Emily watched, her fingers brushing the controls, feeling a faint connection to the mechanic, who seemed to care more about her mobility than anyone else had in years. Laura shifted slightly, her eyes never leaving Jake, silently measuring whether she could trust him with her daughter's future. Hours passed as they discussed logistics, measurements, and safety. Jake asked Emily to demonstrate how she usually moves the chair, listening carefully to every detail. Her movements were cautious, precise, filled with the restraint that years of paralysis had taught her. Jake nodded, taking mental notes. "We'll need to adjust the height here, reinforce that section, and maybe add some motors to help with standing," he said, sketching quickly. Emily watched, wide-eyed, feeling for the first time a glimmer of possibility. Laura leaned against a workbench, tears welling up slightly, overwhelmed by the thought of a solution within reach. Jake paused to wipe his hands, looking at the two in front of him. "This isn't just about building a chair," he said softly. "It's about giving you back some freedom, a chance to move in ways that matter." Emily's lips quivered, and she nodded slowly, the weight of hope settling in her chest. Laura's hand lightly touched her daughter's shoulder, whispering a quiet, "Thank you," though she wasn't sure what she was thanking Jake for yet. All three of them sensed the beginning of something significant, a turning point that might change Emily's life forever. Even as Jake continued explaining potential designs, he felt a surge of responsibility. He had never promised a miracle before, but looking at Emily, he knew he had to try. She deserved every effort, every sleepless night, every ounce of creativity he could muster. He mentally mapped out the tools, motors, and materials he'd need, planning each step with precision and care. Laura silently watched, amazed at his dedication, while Emily's eyes began to shine with cautious excitement, a rare glimpse of hope appearing after 2 long years of despair. By the time they left the garage that day, plans were forming, sketches were scattered across the workbench, and a sense of determination filled the air. Jake returned to his tools, already thinking about modifications and components, while Laura and Emily drove off, hearts lighter yet anxious. Emily peeked back at the garage from the SUV, a small smile playing on her lips, feeling for the first time that movement might not be beyond her reach. Jake watched them leave, resolved to turn possibility into reality, knowing this was the start of a life-changing journey for all three of them. Jake Carter's garage had become a hive of concentrated energy. Tools clattered against workbenches, sparks flew from welding, and the scent of metal and oil filled the air. For weeks he labored tirelessly, measuring, cutting, and assembling the wheelchair. Every joint, motor, and sensor was tested, adjusted, and refined. He worked late into the night, using dim overhead lights and the glow of a welding torch to illuminate his work. Each movement was precise, deliberate, because he knew the stakes. Emily's first steps in 2 years depended entirely on the machine he was building with his own hands. Emily visited frequently, her face a mix of curiosity, hope, and nervous anticipation. She would peer over the workbench, watching the wheelchair's frame take shape. Sometimes she reached out to touch a polished metal surface or a moving joint, her fingers trembling slightly. "Is it ready yet?" she asked softly on one visit, her voice almost a whisper. Jake crouched beside her, gently adjusting a sensor. "Almost," he replied, his voice calm and reassuring. "We're making sure every piece works perfectly. When it's ready, you'll feel it help you in ways no one thought possible." Emily's eyes widened as she imagined moving freely again. Laura, standing quietly nearby during these visits, could hardly contain her mixture of hope and fear. She had seen too many treatments fail, too many doctors give up. Her hands were often clasped tightly, her lips pressed together in silent prayer. She would glance at her daughter, who had remained stoic in public, but revealed her longing in private. "I don't know if this will work," Laura admitted one evening, her voice trembling. Jake paused, looking up from his work, and met her gaze. "I can't promise a miracle," he said, "but I promise to do everything I can to give Emily the chance to move on her own." Each day, Jake tested the wheelchair's components. Motors hummed as wheels rotated smoothly. Hydraulic joints lifted and lowered simulated legs, mimicking the movement Emily would experience. Sensors were calibrated with precision, ensuring safety and responsiveness. He adjusted the chair's frame multiple times, accounting for Emily's height, posture, and comfort. Every small success was a victory, but every failure was a challenge that drove him to work harder. Tools were scattered across the floor, sketches covered the workbench, and discarded parts piled in the corner, evidence of his relentless dedication. When the day of the test finally arrived, the garage was filled with a quiet tension. Sunlight streamed through the open doors, illuminating the polished wheelchair. Jake crouched beside it, checking each connection one final time. Emily approached hesitantly, her hands clutching the sides of the chair. Her heart pounded with nervous excitement. Laura stood nearby, holding her breath, whispering prayers under her breath. "Remember, Emily," Jake said gently, "I'll be right here. Just trust." "The chair and yourself." Emily nodded, swallowing her fear, and slowly lowered herself into the seat. Her small hands gripped the controls tightly, her knuckles whitening. Jake crouched beside her, steadying the chair with a reassuring hand. "Okay, let's try this," he whispered. With a careful push of the activation button, the motors hummed to life. The wheels began to turn, moving forward smoothly. Emily's eyes widened, her breath catching in disbelief. Slowly, the chair adjusted, raising her slightly and supporting her posture. She gasped softly, a sound of pure amazement. Laura's hands flew to her face, tears welling up as she whispered, "Oh my God, she's moving." As Emily gained confidence, the chair helped her take small, tentative steps. Her laughter, once stifled by 2 years of paralysis, filled the garage. Each motion was careful yet fluid, assisted by the sensors and motors Jake had meticulously installed. He watched intently, ready to correct anything, but the chair performed flawlessly. Emily's eyes sparkled, a mixture of joy and disbelief. She turned to look at Jake, her smile radiant. "It works. It really works," she exclaimed, voice filled with excitement and wonder. Laura fell to her knees, overcome with emotion. Tears streamed freely down her face as she reached toward her daughter, still hovering near the chair. "My daughter." "She's walking again," she whispered, her voice trembling with awe and gratitude. The garage, usually filled with the sounds of clanking metal and engine repairs, was now overflowing with emotion. The mechanical hum of the wheelchair, once just a sound of engineering, became the soundtrack of a miracle. Jake's heart swelled at the sight, knowing his hard work had accomplished something extraordinary. Emily began moving more confidently, experimenting with turns and small adjustments. Jake stayed close, his hand on the back of the chair, ready to assist if needed. She smiled, leaning slightly forward, and tested the hydraulic assist. The chair responded perfectly, lifting her in a smooth motion. I can stand!" Emily cried, her voice echoing through the garage. Laura's sobs grew louder, her hands pressed over her mouth, as she watched her daughter achieve a freedom that had seemed impossible just weeks ago. For hours, Emily practiced under Jake's supervision, each movement building her strength and confidence. Laura's tears were constant, a mix of relief, joy, and disbelief. She had invested so much money, seen so many specialists fail. Yet here was a young mechanic working in a small-town garage, giving her daughter what she had never dreamed possible. Jake, though exhausted, felt invigorated. He had poured his heart into every joint, every motor, every sensor. And now it was all paying off in the most beautiful way imaginable. By the end of the day, Emily could maneuver the wheelchair with ease, standing and moving independently, with assistance only when needed. She laughed freely, spinning in small circles and testing turns. Laura hugged her tightly, tears streaming, whispering words of love and gratitude. Jake stepped back, smiling quietly, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. The small garage, once just a place of routine repairs, had become the birthplace of a miracle. For Emily, it was the first day of a new life. For Laura, the realization of hope. And for Jake, proof that determination and kindness could achieve the impossible. Word of Jake Carter's miraculous invention spread quickly through Cleveland and beyond. News outlets covered the story. Neighbors came to see the young mechanic who had given a paralyzed 18-year-old girl her mobility back, and hospitals inquired about the wheelchair's design. Despite the growing attention, Jake remained focused on what mattered most, Emily. His humble garage, once a simple repair shop, had become a place where hope was tangible, where perseverance and compassion could turn impossible dreams into reality. Each day, families visited, eyes wide with curiosity and admiration as they saw Emily maneuvering independently in her custom-built wheelchair. Emily had grown more confident with each passing day. She could navigate small obstacles, adjust her posture with ease, and even take tentative steps with the support of the advanced wheelchair mechanisms. Her laughter filled the garage, a sound that had been absent for over 2 years. She explored corners of the workshop she had never dared approach, her hands gripping the controls with precision and delight. Jake watched closely, proud of the independence she had gained. Each successful movement brought a spark of joy to his heart, reinforcing that the long hours, countless adjustments, and tireless effort had been worth every second. Laura, Emily's mother, remained deeply moved by the transformation she witnessed. She would often sit quietly in a corner, watching her daughter maneuver and spin, tears freely streaming down her face. For years, she had spent millions on treatments, visited countless specialists, and endured the heartbreak of seeing her daughter's dreams constrained by paralysis. Yet here in a small, ordinary garage, a young mechanic had accomplished what no fortune or expertise could. Her gratitude toward Jake was boundless, her eyes shining with relief and love. She embraced Emily often, whispering words of praise and encouragement, marveling at the newfound independence in her daughter's movements. The community responded with warmth and admiration. People came to witness the miracle firsthand, bringing flowers, handwritten notes, and expressions of support. Local news crews recorded Emily's daily practice sessions, capturing the raw emotion of a family restored. Jake welcomed visitors with humility, explaining the design of the wheelchair, the mechanics behind each sensor, and the safety features he had painstakingly installed. Though many tried to offer payment or recognition, he refused anything beyond a heartfelt thank you. To Jake, the true reward was the joy and freedom Emily now experienced, something money could never buy. Emily's confidence extended beyond the garage. For the first time in her life, she dared to dream about the future without limitations. She expressed a desire to help other children and adults with physical challenges, inspired by Jake's ingenuity and kindness. With Laura's encouragement, Emily began researching engineering and assistive technology, determined to develop solutions that could change lives just as hers had been changed. Her ambition was fueled by gratitude, empathy, and the memory of the moment when she first felt the wheelchair support her fully, allowing her to move and stand independently for the first time. Jake continued his daily work, balancing car repairs with his passion for helping those in need. The garage, once merely a local auto shop, became a hub for innovation and kindness. Families from across the city sought advice, demonstrations, and guidance on mobility solutions. Jake patiently shared his knowledge, mentoring others on mechanical adjustments, safety measures, and the importance of empathy in every creation. His reputation grew, not as a wealthy inventor, but as a compassionate craftsman who used his skills to improve lives. The shop buzzed with energy, a place where miracles, both big and small, were realized. The bond between Jake, Emily, and Laura strengthened with every passing day. They shared meals, celebrated small victories, and reflected on the journey that had brought them together. Emily's laughter became a regular soundtrack in the garage, a reminder of the power of determination and belief. Laura's gratitude never waned. She often said that Jake's act of kindness had given her daughter the most precious gift of all, freedom. Their story inspired others, showing that even in a world driven by money and status, the simplest acts of generosity could create profound change. Emily's progress was steady but remarkable. With each practice session, she gained more control over the wheelchair, learned to navigate corners and tight spaces, and began to experiment with standing maneuvers assisted by the chair's hydraulic mechanisms. Jake adjusted the settings to suit her increasing skill level, always prioritizing safety and comfort. Watching her move independently for the first time had been miraculous. Seeing her refine her abilities day by day was a testament to human resilience, engineering, and the emotional impact of a caring heart. Each success brought pride to Jake and joy to Laura. The story of the small-town mechanic who helped a billionaire's daughter captured the hearts of many. Local newspapers and online platforms shared photos and videos, celebrating the collaboration between Jake and Emily. They highlighted the emotional depth of the moment when Emily first moved on her own, as well as the ongoing dedication of Jake in refining the wheelchair. Community members were inspired to seek innovative solutions for people with disabilities, volunteer their skills, and support local talent. Emily's journey became a symbol of hope, showing that limitations can be overcome through ingenuity, perseverance, and compassion. By the end of the summer, Emily had achieved remarkable independence. She could maneuver the wheelchair through crowded spaces, stand and sit with confidence, and even engage in activities she had previously only dreamed of. Her personality blossomed, full of laughter, curiosity, and courage. Laura often watched from the sidelines, her heart full, grateful for the miraculous change. Jake continued to work quietly, never seeking fame, content in the knowledge that his hard work had not only changed one life, but had also inspired a community. The garage stood as a beacon of hope, a place where kindness and skill transformed lives. As Emily prepared to return to school and resume social activities, she reflected on how much her life had changed. The experience had taught her resilience, patience, and the value of trusting others. She had witnessed firsthand how determination and empathy could create real miracles. Jake remained a constant presence, checking the wheelchair systems, offering encouragement, and sharing in the joy of each achievement. Laura, overwhelmed with gratitude, expressed repeatedly that no amount of wealth could have given her daughter the independence, confidence, and happiness that Jake had provided in that small garage. The single act of kindness had changed 3 lives forever. Jake, the humble mechanic, had used his skill, patience, and heart to transform Emily's world. Emily, once confined and limited, now had the freedom to explore, dream, and live fully. Laura, having witnessed the miracle, understood the true power of generosity and compassion. The small garage, once an ordinary repair shop, had become a symbol of hope, innovation, and love. Their story proved that miracles often come from the heart, not money, and that human connection can be the most powerful force of all.